Well, hello, my friend. Today is day 27 of our 31-day journey through the Proverbs. So glad you could join me for today. Let's go ahead and jump on into our text right away for the day, shall we? We're going to be reading, of course, chapter 27 of the book of Proverbs, and starting in verse 1, it says, "Don't boast about tomorrow, for you don't know what a day may bring. Let another man praise you, and not your own mouth, a stranger, and not your own lips. A stone is heavy, and sand is a burden, but a fool's provocation is heavier than both. Wrath is cruel, and anger is overwhelming. But who is able to stand before jealousy? Better is open rebuke than hidden love. The wounds of a friend are faithful, although the kisses of an enemy are profuse. A full soul loathes a honeycomb, but to a hungry soul, every bitter thing is sweet. As a bird that wanders from her nest, so is a man who wanders from his home. Perfume and incense bring joy to the heart, so does earnest counsel from a man's friend. Don't forsake your friend and your father's friend. Don't go to your brother's house in the day of your disaster. A neighbor who is near is better than a distant brother. Be wise, my son, and bring joy to my heart. Then I can answer my tormentor. A prudent man sees danger and takes refuge, but the simple pass on and suffer for it. Take his garment when he puts up collateral for a stranger. Hold it for a wayward woman. He who blesses his neighbor with a loud voice early in the morning, it will be taken as a curse by him. A continual dropping on a rainy day and a contentious wife are alike. Restraining her is like restraining the wind, or like grasping oil in his right hand. Iron sharpens iron. So a man sharpens his friend's countenance. Whoever tends the fig tree will eat its fruit. He who looks after his master will be honored. Like water reflects a face, so a man's heart reflects the man. Death and the grave are never satisfied, and a man's eyes are never satisfied. The crucible is for silver, and the furnace for gold, but a man is refined by his praise. Though you grind a fool in a mortar with a pestle along with grain, yet his foolishness will not be removed from him. Know well the state of your flocks, and pay attention to your herds, for riches are not forever, nor does the crown endure to all generations. The hay is removed, and the new growth appears. The grasses of the hills are gathered in. The lambs are for your clothing, and the goats are the price of a field. There will be plenty of goat's milk for your food and for your family's food, and for the nourishment of your servant girls. Well, that last little bit there sounds like a cute little story, but what in the world does it mean? And this is actually the verse or the section of verses that I want to focus on for my personal takeaway today. That's these last few verses, and especially I think verses 23 and 24, where it says, "Know well the state of your flocks and pay attention to your herds, for riches are not forever, nor does the crown endure to all generations." And then it kind of goes on and tells a little bit of a story of what that looks like. And what I find really, really fascinating just about the timing of this passage is that I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday that was telling me about, or just kind of reminding me about this idea that, Steve, none of us are getting any younger. It would be really good to make sure that you're planning for your future. And I just thought, he just told me that yesterday, and I read this yesterday. I wonder. And so what I find really fascinating too, something that I want to read to you, and this is actually one of the footnotes in the New Living Translation Life Application Bible. And it says, of these verses in Proverbs, it says, "Because life is uncertain, we should be all the more diligent in preparing for the future. We should act with foresight, giving responsible attention to our home, our family, and our career. We should be responsible stewards, like a farmer with his lands and herds. Thinking ahead is a duty, not an option, for God's people." And what I really appreciated about that is that, the focus was on, I know most Christians are part of a community. And as such, one of the great privileges that we have as a Christian is to look out for one another and to look out for our community. And certainly at the point of time where this was written, this wasn't in the me society of today's age. Again, remember, this was thousands and thousands of years ago in a time where people lived in community. But even then, there was this emphasis on, hey, make sure that you are taking care of your family. And what's interesting is there's a verse in 1 Timothy, and it says, "Anyone who does not provide for their relatives, and especially for their own household, has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." So just when and that's from 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8. So just when you thought it was, a really spiritual idea to put your family aside and look after, the community first, no, the Bible is really telling us to make sure that we're thinking ahead, that we're planning ahead, and that because we're not going to be around forever, and we want to make sure that we are taking care of our loved ones that are going to come after us. So that's what I got out of today's passage. My affirmation for today would be, I am preparing for the future. I am preparing for the future. I am preparing for the future. I have to keep telling myself that because oftentimes I'm not preparing for the future. So I am preparing for the future. Well, that's my takeaway, my affirmation. Now, oh my gosh, the moment you have been waiting for through this entire series. My next guest, oh my gosh, I just love her to pieces. She is absolutely amazing. Her name is Candy, and Candy is from Waverly, Missouri, and Candy was a chiefette. That's right. She was a cheerleader for the Kansas City Chiefs, who right now are getting ready to go to the Super Bowl. But Candy is a public speaker, and she has this to say. Jealousy, I call it the green monster. As a speaker, I can easily go into that spiral of comparison, and then it leads to jealousy. Ugh. I did it more at the beginning of my business, not so much anymore. I see what this can do to my colleagues, and it's not pretty. And so Candy has this affirmation for us. And her affirmation says, and I love this because she phrases it as a prayer. Dear God, thank you for affirming that I am wonderfully and beautifully made by you and for you. Let's read that again. Dear God, thank you for affirming that I am wonderfully and beautifully made by you, for you. Love that, love that, love that. Well, Candy, thank you so much for your takeaway, for your affirmation, for contributing to the community here. So grateful for that. So grateful for you, the viewer, watching, participating, listening. Hopefully this has inspired you and made you think about something. Would love to hear what you're thinking. Would love to hear your takeaway, your affirmation. What do you have that you would love to share with the community? Go ahead and leave that in the comments. And if you have any questions, you want to reach out, you'll find all of the information on how to do that in the description area of the video, along with other information about today's lesson. Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully we'll see you back here again tomorrow for day 28. Until then, have a great rest of your day.